So, I failed. Now let me give context to that. 2 weeks ago, promised that I would do a daily vlog of what it meant to build a business, raise 2 tiny humans, not burn out, not lose myself in the process, and showcase to you what was possible. And I failed at that because, let me tell you why. I didn't actually create a daily video past Wednesday of last week. So I got 3 videos in and all of a sudden life took over. Now, here's the thing. I categorically can say, yes, I failed. I failed the mission. I failed the consistency part of it. But let me give you context as to why I've reframed that and why, if you're in a position yourself, why it could also help you too. Before I've done the work on myself, I would have taken that promise that I made to post 30 days of content, and I would have completely and utterly obliterated myself and shat all over myself and held myself to all these horrible standards and expectations in order to try and push me forward. And when I reflect on that, is that got me absolutely nowhere except for more doubt, more insecurity, more feeling like I was worthless. And it was almost like this reaffirmation of, see, I told you, that's why you're not good enough. And that internal war that happened because of that promise I had made, without looking at the bigger picture and the bigger context to that, became a source of self-punishment and became a source of affirmation and evidence to say that this is the reason why you're not good enough. See, I told you. So what was happening at the time for me was that I was essentially kind of at war with myself internally, and then had this shame and all of these expectations that nobody else placed on me other than myself, which added pressure, added expectation, added all these things, and completely eroded not only my confidence and self-trust, but it eroded my ability to be able to show up and have fun. So here's how I'm viewing things differently. Now, when I look at creating what I've created and making that promise to myself, what happened was this, and I'm going to give the full context, full picture for it because it's really fucking important. I created content the first 3 days of that, and then the Thursday happened. And what happened was I went full immersive into, I actually have the videos that I created from that day, but I just never edited them. So I actually effectively footage up until Thursday of that week. And what happened then is that I went into my client event on Friday. Now, I had brought the recording equipment, I brought everything, and after that, because I had been gone on all day on Friday, I chose to be fully present at home Saturday and Sunday, right? Because I had been gone for quite some time, and I knew that I was going to be going away Monday through Wednesday of the following week, which was last week. So there was Friday, I wanted to be fully present with my clients. I also had a speaking event that morning, so I went Friday morning, spoke at Decathlon, went straight from Decathlon, parked up the car, and more or less went straight into being with my clients for the evening. Came home, and then I wanted to be fully present Saturday and Sunday in order to be able to then go and be fully present in being at a retreat and doing 18 plus one-to-one sessions over the course of 3 days. So I didn't want to be recording, right? So that kind of more or less week, right, by the time I had gotten back, it was a whole entire week where my presence was fully required, right? No matter where I was, I had to be where my feet were. I didn't want to, and I didn't naturally think about this, but when I look back in reflection, yes, I broke and failed the 30-day commitment to myself, but actually in hindsight, I look back and I was like, the old me wouldn't have been able to be so present, whereas the new me had clearly set up a structure that allowed me to be able to do that, and filming myself on a daily basis just was going to take away and eat from that. And that wasn't a trade-off that I was willing to make. So when I look at it now and the work that I've done on myself is that, yeah, I'm still going to record, I'm still going to put these videos out there, I'm still going to share my journey, share my story. And when I can, I am going to put it out there on a daily basis, right? Today is one of those days for me. But I can look back through the lens of I failed and completely stop, or I can look back on through a different lens of like, yeah, I failed the commitment, but when I look at the bigger picture of where I was committed to, who I was committed to, and how I was actually committed, I'm like, I'd rather sacrifice a daily YouTube video in order for me to be fully present with my family my kids, my friends, and the people that I work with and get to work with as well. So in that instance now, I look back through a different lens of like, was that a failure? Categorically, no. Because my commitment to being fully present, that's actually the real priority. Right? So in that moment, what it allowed me to see was the bigger picture of how I showed up, how I operated. And did it come at the sacrifice of a daily video? Yeah, it did. Am I okay with that? Abso-fucking-lutely. Because what it meant was wherever I was fully there. Right? And when I wasn't fully in the thing, I was recovering from the thing so I could be fully in the thing again. So when I look at that now, I'm like, yeah, my intuition was like, do you know what? This is what we don't do, and this is what we're absolutely going to do. And that has taken years to build, right? But I'll tell you right now, the step number one in building up that trust, right, is, yeah, we can have these ideas to do these 30-day commitments to ourselves, and it can be great. But when we look back on actually, how did I show up? How did I operate in that? Was that a failure? Was it not? What built the trust within myself, for myself, so much, was that starting to look from a bigger picture lens. Because when we start to put ourselves down, when we start to shame ourselves, when we start to beat ourselves up, what will happen is our focus will narrow and narrow and narrow solely on all the reasons as to why we shouldn't believe in ourselves and trust ourselves. But when I widen that focus again, I now see the reason why. Well, I didn't create a daily video because I was doing X, Y, and Z. Fuck. Actually, the whole entire reason as to why I've structured and built my business in the way that I do is to allow myself to be as present as I possibly can. Did I succeed in that? Absolutely. Did it come at the cost and come at the failure of me not being able to post a daily video? Yes. Am I okay with that? Fucking yes. Why? Because I know my values. So the first thing is to widen the focus for yourself. Stop narrowing in on why you failed, how you failed, why you're always like this, why you're never going to be good enough, and let that be the determining factor of how you continue to see yourself. If you widen and ask yourself better questions of like, actually, what else was at play here? What else was going on here? The sooner you ask yourself better questions that will actually give you the clearer, more bigger picture answer, now we have new information that we can add in. Up until this point, we only have information as to why we're not good enough. And I guarantee you, like an algorithm, the more that you search for that specifically, the more you'll get answers for it. Does it make those answers true? No. What's happening is your brain is filtering your current reality to make sure that what's happening right now molds and fits into that current belief system about yourself. So when you take a bigger, wider picture and you zoom out and you see, okay, well, maybe I failed this, but what else, like why, right? And you start to ask yourself, okay, what else was at play? What else happened? Now we see different context. With new context, I have new information. With new information, I can make different decisions. So within this, it gives you a different way of viewing things, and more importantly, a different way of viewing yourself. The second thing that I'd like you to understand is understand your values. Right? The clearer you get on your values, the clearer you get in who you are. And when you're clear on who you are, when you're clear on what you stand for, what will happen is they become the filtering system to allow you to be able to, I suppose, audit and assess and ask yourself different questions. So for example, mine are integrity, exploration, and purpose. Okay, did I live and lead with integrity and exploration and purpose for every moment that was right in front of my face over the last week? Yes. Right? Did I live and lead with integrity, exploration, and purpose when it came to creating that content? No, but what's important? What is important for me is if I was to choose exercising my value for either of those sections, I would rather be integral, explorative, and leading with purpose for who and what was exactly in front of my face. Not a camera documenting my journey and giving people a little snippet of a little bit of a takeaway because I said I would. Right? Think about your values, know your values, and when you know your values, you know yourself, and allow your values then allow you to be able to create that bigger picture, to be like, actually, I'm willing to trade off not being fully integral to that 30-day commitment in order to make sure that I can be a fully integral parent leading with purpose and exploration, as well as that in my business as well. So for me, that was a trade-off, but that could only happen through the lens of me knowing my values. So I'd love you to understand and get to know your values. Now, the context to this, that if you've listened to this and you're further along and you're like, fucking hell, that makes sense, I'm going to take that approach. Comment the word below, value, the word value below, and I'll send you my values discovery PDF, okay? And basically what we'll be able to do is help you, if you don't know your values, discover them, okay? But the little tangent story to that is, today is the 20th of October in time of recording this. Yesterday, 13 years ago, I tried to end my life for the last time. And I failed. And I failed because there was a reason that I was like, do you know what, I failed, I'm meant to be here. But I didn't think about that straight away. I didn't say, oh great, I didn't die, I'm meant to be here. I woke up and I remember thinking, shit, why am I here? And in that moment, what I realized, to bring this video full circle, is, why am I here? When I asked that question first, the tone behind that was a bit like, fucking hell, why am I here? Right? Why was I not good enough to do what I needed to do correctly enough? Why did I have to fail at even fucking, like, ending my life? Right? And I know this is heavy in terms of content, but I asked the same question, just if in a different tone, in a, shit, why am I here? Why did I survive? And how can I go from feeling the way that I am to how I actually could potentially feel differently in the future? And in that moment, I made a choice. But it was years later when I was speaking at an event and somebody asked me what my biggest failure was. And I immediately went to business or like life and different bits and pieces. And I think I gave some bullshit answer of like something got to do with in business. And there was a speaker there, Sean, who also said, you know what, Kira, I know your story. Your biggest failure was your failure to kill yourself. And I remember him saying it when I was like, shit, like he's right. And how right he was. So for me now, like I am a categorical failure, but it's what I did with that failure that determined the rest of my life. Because before I would have saw I'm a failure as I'm a failure, I'm not good enough, I'm worthless, I have no place on this earth, to I'm a failure, it must mean I've learned something, I can choose a different meaning here, and I can take the lessons from this and actually move forward. Like I did in that most extreme position of my life. So if I can fail categorically at that, failure to me now has a completely different meaning. So the reason I brought that up is because I remember standing last Monday, in front of the top 1%, right, of the founders and CISOs in the cybersecurity world. And I remember going, oh, why am I here? And it brought me right back to 13 years ago. Why am I here? And I realized that no matter what level that you're at, there's always going to be this remembrance of where you've come from, but that should give you fuel instead of get in your way. So for me, it was like, why am I here? Well, I'm here because I've been through all this shit, actually, and I might be able to see what you don't see, because it's enabled me to see the work, the emotional work that you might not have done. It enables me to be able to see your blind spots, and that's the answer that I give. So I stood up and was vulnerable and was like, I'm thinking, why am I here? But here's why I think I'm meant to be here. Here's what I think I can help you. And in in those 18 sessions that I had, that was the reoccurring statement that people gave to me of like, when you said that, it made me realize that actually maybe there's things that I haven't been seeing for myself. So for me, it was a really nice full circle moment, but for you to be listening to this to get a tactical takeaway, I suppose, thing from it is, there are always going to be times in your life where you might doubt yourself, or you might feel that resistance of like, shit, why am I here? Maybe there's a bit of imposter syndrome coming in. But in that moment, you have a choice to choose how you respond in that moment. Do I respond by stepping down and back and believing the doubt and seeing and hearing that question as doubt? Or do I hear it as actually, I'm going to showcase who I am, what I stand for, what I value, what I've been through. And if it helps you, great. If it doesn't, then I'm okay with that too. Why? Because I go back to the start of this video, I build up self-trust with myself. So this, yes, is a story and I suppose a video about failure, but it's also a story and a video about choice and meaning and forward motion. Because when you are in control of your choice, your meaning that you give situations, it will allow you to be able to move forward. And that is up to you 24/7 any given moment. So when I look back at it now, of like, you might be thinking, okay, well, how do I build up that trust? Is in moments where you feel that pull come in, where doubt gets a little bit louder or anxiety gets a little bit higher, I want you to ask yourself, in those moments, do I stand with myself, meet myself where I'm at, and then still move forward because I've given it a meaning of like, I care here and I give a shit here, and that's okay to feel anxious here, but we're going to move forward and here's how we do it together? Or do I see it as a way of shrinking down and stopping and holding myself back? Because in that instance, you can only fail when you quit. You can only fail when you give up. You can only fail when you back out on yourself, right? And you allow it to be a full stop rather than a comma. But the more that you keep going, the more that you take action, the more that you push yourself forward and support yourself despite doubt and working and moving with doubt, that's when things can change massively for you. Why? Because no matter what happens, you stand with yourself, you stand by yourself, and that's someone who trusts themselves. So yes, my name is Kira and I'm a failure, but I'm also really proud to be a failure. What about you?